This is the story of December 9th, 1967, Oakland, California, a night that changed everything and nothing, a night that has haunted every person who witnessed it, a night that Bruce Lee himself never spoke about publicly, not once, not ever. This is the story they told me I should never tell. In the winter of '67, Bruce Lee was 27 years old. To the general public, he was a ghost. No blockbuster movies, no global fame, just a humble instructor in Oakland's Chinatown. He was teaching a select few a modified, rebellious version of Wing Chun that defied tradition. While the world didn't know his name, the underground fighting circuit whispered it like a prayer or a warning. They spoke of a man who moved with the fluidity of a river and struck with the speed of a lightning bolt. They called his philosophy Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. It wasn't about flashy forms, it was about raw, unfiltered reality. But until this night, those were just stories. No one had seen Bruce push to the brink where survival was the only prize. No one had seen him in a room with no referees, no bell, and no mercy. That changed in an abandoned industrial warehouse under the dim glow of a December moon. I first stumbled upon the truth of this encounter in 1996 while interviewing Dan Inosanto, Bruce's most trusted protégé. After the microphones were packed away, over a cold cup of coffee, the atmosphere shifted. Dan mentioned a fight, the only real fight he ever saw Bruce engage in. His hands trembled as he recalled the details. There were only 7 witnesses, and Bruce had bound them all to a vow of silence. It took me years to track down the survivors. Some slammed doors in my face, others spoke with a heavy, lingering dread. This wasn't a tale of a hero defeating a villain. It was a descent into the dark side of human capability. The man who stood across from Bruce wasn't a street thug. He was a professional, a 220-pound titan forged in the brutal Soviet military programs. Known only as the Russian, he was a master of Sistema and Sambo, a man who had won 47 underground matches across the globe. To him, Bruce Lee was a circus act, a performer who looked good in demonstrations but would crumble under the weight of a real combatant. He sent a challenge that Bruce couldn't ignore, a private match to find the truth. Bruce accepted, but on his own chilling conditions. Neutral ground, an empty warehouse in West Oakland. Minimal witnesses, only 7 people allowed. No restrictions, no time limit, no gloves. The pact: if someone died, it was to be reported as a training accident. No police, no questions. When they finally met, the air was thick with static. For nearly half a minute, neither man moved. The Russian was a mountain of muscle. Bruce was a statue of focused intent. Then, the Russian advanced, slow, calculated, professional. Suddenly, Bruce blurred. Before the Russian could even blink, Bruce had closed the gap, touched the man's forehead with his fingertips, and retreated back to his starting position. It was a psychological execution. The message was clear. I could have ended this already. Enraged and humiliated, the Russian unleashed a barrage of strikes. He was fast, but Bruce was intangible. It was like watching a man try to punch smoke. Every heavy blow hit empty air as Bruce used microscopic movements to evade. Then came the counter. Bruce delivered a shin-to-muscle kick that echoed like a gunshot. The Russian's leg buckled, and in that window of pain, Bruce landed 3 lightning strikes to the ribs and jaw before vanishing out of range again. I've seen military combat trials and brutal street brawls. I had never seen anything like Bruce Lee that night. It was like watching a film where the frames were missing. Neutral witness Robert told me. The Russian, refusing to quit, shifted to grappling. He managed to snag Bruce's wrist with a grip like a vice. For a second, it looked like the larger man would crush him. Instead, Bruce moved into the grab, striking the Russian's elbow with such precision that the joint hyperextended with a sickening pop. The fight ended when Bruce intercepted the final, desperate lunging attack. Using the principles of Jeet Kune Do, he turned the Russian's own momentum against him, sending him crashing onto the concrete. "Stay down," Bruce commanded. The Russian tried to rise, his body failing him, before finally nodding in submission. In the silence that followed, Bruce didn't celebrate. He walked to a corner, pressed his hands against the wall, and shook. He wasn't shaking from the adrenaline of victory, he was shaking from the horror of what he had felt inside. He realized that for a moment he had wanted to do more than win. He had wanted to destroy. The Russian, battered and bleeding, did the unthinkable. He stood up, looked at Bruce, and bowed. He acknowledged that Bruce could have killed him 10 times over, but chose to use just enough force to stop him. "This is real mastery," he whispered. Bruce Lee made everyone in that room swear to forget that night. He didn't want the world to know him as a dealer of violence. This fight didn't make him a better teacher, it made him a more haunted man. If you look at photos of Bruce from early 1968, you'll see it. There is a different look in his eyes, the look of a man who has looked into the abyss and realized the abyss was looking back. He spent the rest of his life perfecting the sword that gives life, choosing to be a philosopher and an artist rather than a monster. Only 7 people saw the truth that night. Now, you are one of them.